a lot of people fear mortality and fear death.
Mm-hmm.
I am more afraid of my parents' death than I am of my own.
And what is that fear centered around? You think, like, what makes you afraid?
I don't know, dude. I think it is just that dependence. Like I think it is wanting to hold on so deep, so tightly to something that you love.
Right, right. Yeah,
But you
that
got a vulnerable ass Mark today, dude.
couldn't be more grateful, man. This is great stuff. I mean, no, you're right. I can even see it in your body language. You know what I mean? It's a big it's a big it's not just for you, man. I think every single human being, regardless of your relationship with your parents, even if you had a negative one, I know that when people lose their parents, it's still a very, very difficult process to go through. Goodbyes are very, very difficult, and I I don't know if it's us depending. I think there's a sense of comfort that comes
Mm-hmm.
with always being able to go home. You know, like I've moved out I mean, I've been on my, you grow up, you're living as an adult. You probably moved out you've probably been on your own for a long, long time now, paying
Yeah,
your
a few
bills,
years. Yeah.
developing into an adult and doing all of these things. But there's just idea of being able to go home that just gives you comfort. You know what I mean? I visit my parents like 2, 3 times a week.
Oh yeah.
I do my best to. And even though if it's for like 20 minutes or an hour or whatnot, I always try to see them, spend time with them. But it's it's not just being their presence. Like it kind of gives you this comfort of just being around,
Oh yeah,
right?
dude.
When I'm going
Oh,
through,
I can get a good meal if I need.
oh, that's the. I think my reaction there says everything. It's
Yeah.
definitely the meal, man. The home cooked meal. You don't have to think about it. You're right, man. I this is a vulnerable conversation for sure. I think for
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
I didn't think we'd get down this road, but
That's what I do. I dig deep, baby.
yeah, absolutely, man. But I will say this though, I don't know if necessarily going through that process, even if you go through it, is what makes you a man. I think there's people who've gone through that and they still remain boys.
I'd say okay. I would say it's part of the hero's journey.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
I wouldn't say it's like a fundamental, and I wouldn't say that you're right because there's people that can go through it and not come out the other side of man.
Right.
I'm saying it's
Because it
one
leads to some people's self destruction.
absolutely yeah yeah yeah. I'm saying it's a call to like a hero's journey,
Right. Right.
and not everybody answers that call.
Right. I'll tell you that I've been much more comfortable now at this age. Like I'm a little older than you by like I think 3, 4 years now, and I've become a little bit more comfortable with this concept in my mind. I used to bro, I used to wake up sometimes in my mid 20s, just sometimes in the middle of the night, and just freak out in the sense of like holy, like not be able to sleep because I'm thinking like at some point I am going to lose my parents. It would scare the living daylights out of me, and it was much so centered around like oh it was feeling guilty that all the guilt stuff about disappointing them or not
Yeah.
doing this like that
Oh yeah,
stuff
bro.
comes up, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and it makes me think about oh I got to do this, I got to get this done before my parents pass, because it's a reality,
Dude, I feel like that's part of what I'm talking about. Because
right,
I have the exact same feelings and emotions. It's like
right,
I have to achieve this so that my
right,
parents can see me achieve it. I have to do this so I can take care of them in this situation.
right.
There's so many different like have you seen, and this is just like kind of my own like weird question. Have you seen your parents lose a parent?
Yes.
Dude, how crazy is that?
That was pretty intense. That was pretty intense. Well, what's interesting is both my parents. So, my parents, both of them had different, very much different reactions. At
Dude,
least on the
same,
surface,
same,
with what was
same.
going on and how they dealt with it. I assume your mom was probably if I'm assuming, but I
I only
not to
have one
assume.
grandparent. I have one. My mom's mom is
Okay,
the only grandparent I have
that's
left.
right. And for both my parents, like my mom was obviously a bit more emotional. My dad was a bit more, reserved in his reaction, but I'm sure it was difficult for both. You know what I mean? It's a difficult process to go through.